Welcome, everybody, to the No Nonsense Guide to Sleep. I thank you all for joining me here tonight, and I would say that this will be another one of our fun presentations that we do. If nothing else you get from it, you get this subtitle, which I think is probably the best joke we've all come up with here. The subtitle for this webinar is Sleeping Your Way to the Top of the Morning. So that right there should be enough for you guys to just say you've got your money's worth, I would say. All right, let's get going. So housekeeping, you can rewatch this at any time. The slides will be reposted shortly after. I do have a couple tools and downloadables that we'll discuss, and we'll be posting those on our website after. If you have any questions, ask away. Again, it pings in my ear so I can hear you. Hi, Ivy, and there's Uncle Randy. Hello. So I do need feedback. There's going to be a follow-up email, and there's an added bonus this month in this webinar. In fact, I'm going to incorporate it into every webinar that we do, so we'll get to that. I, of course, have lots to cover. I think there's something like 96 slides. So who am I? If you don't know me, I would hope that you know a little bit something about me, but basically I'm a pharmacist. I've been practicing for 15 years. I own a pharmacy and supplement store here in Woodstock, New York, and I'm a holistic pharmacist. So I've seen the power of lifestyle interventions, natural products, and traditional medications all at the same time. But I know both healthcare industries are sick, meaning the healthcare industry, big pharma, and the natural products industry. So I've developed Woodstock Vitamins because we need a new path for managing and preventing disease. And basically what we've done is we've weaponized my approach, my almost obsessive rigor to deliver better products, better advice, and better information to help you live your healthiest life. Now, I use the word there, holistic pharmacist. I always like to cover that because it's a made-up word, and I like to keep it real with everybody. But what does that mean? It basically means that I'm not here to push drugs. In fact, it's the opposite. I want people to use fewer things, fewer medicines, but also fewer supplements. Use nutrition, lifestyle changes, sleep management, these kinds of things to prevent as much disease as humanly possible. And while I know that healthcare is a mess, I know that we need it. We need medicine to live our best possible lives. So we need lifestyle supplements and medication. So that's what I think a holistic pharmacist is. Anybody else that uses the word is infringing upon my trademark, and we should turn them into the authorities. But otherwise, I'm just a big mouth professional who gets a little crazy and asks the tough questions. Speaking of being a big mouth, if you haven't participated with my podcast yet, I definitely think that you should. If you're here in the webinar, that means you like the extra stuff that I do besides my little blog and my normal advice that I give. The podcast is awesome, I have to say. I've been interviewing experts in the different arenas around health and wellness, and I think it's just a lot of fun. I think I've kind of hit my little bit of a stride here, so I know what's going on. So we have some great episodes coming up. We're going to talk to a fitness expert, sleep. Actually, the whole reason that we're having this webinar is because of my recent sleep interview. We talk about supplement quality quite a bit, and soon skincare. I need a nap. I did take a nap, Sharon. I took a 15-minute nap today in preparation for my webinar today because I was so exhausted. I'm going to tell you the whole story. So I have this important disclaimer section. Please read this. I'm not making any false claims. In fact, I try to do the opposite. This is just educational. I don't tell you anything crazy, so this won't be, too legally ambiguous here. Don't do anything without talking to your pharmacist or your physician. Even though I'm a pharmacist, I'm not yours. So, and also don't believe anything you hear or read on the internet, even this. So my responsibility is to be responsible. I'm not going to make any outrageous claims. I'm just going to give you real practical advice around products and what the current evidence really shows. So in other words, no BS. All right. This is going to be fun. So we are doing something a little bit more interactive today. So I wanted to include a funny picture or two about sleep. And instead of finding a couple, I found like 1,000. So I had the staff pick out a bunch, and I've included them on most of the slides here. And I want you to vote for the funniest photo. So if you notice in the corner of this little Bateman psycho type picture meme here, there's a little 1. So if you like this picture, what I suggest you do is use a piece of scrap paper and write down the number 1. And then if you see something funnier, then cross out the 1 and change that number to whatever you think is the funniest as we go. And I'd like to vote in the end, and that'll be the winner. I don't know. I don't really know what that means, but I think it's a fun thing to do. So this is something new that I'm going to try. The other thing I wanted to tell you is that everything that I know about sleep, I learned from Dr. Neal Stanley. That's partially true, but Dr. Stanley is a sleep researcher from the UK. He's got 37 years experience, and he was just on my podcast. And his episode, I think, comes out this week, maybe. He's the author of How to Sleep Well, and he's going to be my phone a friend sleep expert from here on out. He really kind of changed my perspective around sleep therapies and really simplified everything, and hence the big thematic change that I did here for our sleep lecture to kind of in the spirit of what he taught me. So I want you to buy his book, visit him on Twitter, and he has daily sleep tips at VI Spring Tips with the little Twitter sign there. And he has like 2,800 or 2,300 sleep tips that you can go through and learn from him, the expert. But again, special, so we're doing all sorts of fun, crazy stuff today. If you complete the feedback survey at the end of the webinar, so you get an email that says, hey, thanks for coming, click on this link to fill out the survey. I'm going to pick 4 people, and they're going to get a copy of Dr. Stanley's book, How to Sleep Well. So I think for free, I won't charge you, obviously, but I think that's a cool thing. So make sure you fill out that form, and then you'll get a free book. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to cover. So we're gonna make our beds, we're going to sleep in them, and if we can't sleep in them, we're going to talk about why. And I might even give you a sleep aid, and we'll talk about sleep hygiene. But one way or another, we're gonna get to sleep today. So let's make our beds. Just sleep facts, no lying here. This is important. Okay, I've been talking about the wellness pyramid pretty much nonstop for the past year, kind of bringing this out into the open and showing it to everybody. And the bottom of the pyramid is all those lifestyle choices: diet, exercise, stress management, and sleep. So today is addressing that for you, so you have a clear picture of what the real issues around sleep are and the real management paths to getting a better night's sleep. This is a no-nonsense discussion, just like I said in the title. The only fluff is going to be in the mattress and the pillow I recommend. And if you notice, there's a little meme there with a little number. So if you think this is funny, mark down number 2. So you guys are all using Facebook, so I can see your web cameras, that all your computers are compromised, and I can see you. You're all at the edge of your seat, and you're saying to yourself, waiting for Neal, the big mouth pharmacist, to once and for all simplify this complex problem of sleep. I know it. I see it. Sleep is complex, right? I mean, there's articles on blogs and newspapers and magazines talking about how crazy it is, giving you the new advice on how to sleep better and best ways to treat sleep problems. There's apps you can get for your phone to track your sleep, and there's little gadgets and gizmos you can wear that tell you about your sleep. And you, of course, there's the mattresses. You got the sleep number and the pump it up. And then there's pillows, and there's a side pillow and a back pillow and a front pillow. There's books on sleep. There's so many different sleep medicine supplements and more. It would seem that sleep is a super complex thing that we all need help with. But of course, I have a theory that the more complex sleep is, the easier it is to get you to do what they want, which is to get you to read their article, which generates ad revenue, gets you to buy their book. Now, Dr. Stanley's a little bit different. He's giving you real advice, but there are people that have like these wax sleep books out there we don't want to pay attention to get you to buy their product, their gadget, their mattress, their pillow, or to get you to their mindset. And this is something that I always like to stress with. This is, I have to probably watch the comments because you guys are commenting on the images and such, so that I have to watch out. But anyway, so they want to get you into their mindset. And this is a good piece of advice that I give everybody. I warn my customers all the time the dangers of reading untrusted sources. And they'll say to me, well, I mean, I just read it. It didn't really change anything. I didn't buy anything. I just read it. But just having that little bit of information in your brain is enough to just shift your mindset just a little bit. We've all heard this before, the I've heard. We had somebody come in and do this today, that I heard that CBD is now causing liver toxicity. I heard, and that was just one article with one headline probably that person read and shifted their perspective on it. And you now in our very social lives have influence over other people, and that is valuable. So even if you don't buy something, you can influence another person's decision, and that is very valuable to companies. So In other words, propagandist machines work very, very well. So I want to just say from our first Neal quote here, in an ever more complex social world where the opinions of others hold more value than expert consensus, a mindset can be more valuable than an actual sale. You may never buy an author or business's product, but simply changing your mind has always been a business objective. So make sure that when we're a part of this conversation, we understand that just you participating in reading false information is an objective and an endpoint for these businesses because it will shift things towards their way of life and their commercial gain. And of course, they all have the answer. This is such a complex problem. Well, of course they do. Use this sleeping position. This is how it'll fix. Use this magic device or app. Use this special effective product. We have the secret and it'll solve all your problems. That's what everybody says. And this narrative has framed the argument in our head that sleep is complex and we must seek out the unique answer to solve our problems. But that is not true. You know what we say to that? You know what? I'm going to get some help. Who here goes to all my webinars? Raise your hand. Okay. Uncle Paulie's back from New Jersey. Do you guys remember him? We did. He came and he helped us throw away our multivitamins. And Uncle Paulie says, take all that nonsense about sleep and throw it away. Okay, he came back. I just wanted to do a little throwback to another webinar. Sleep fact number one, sleep is not complex. Sleep is something that we've done forever, us individually and humans, right? It's the easiest thing we do, even if there is a problem. Dr. Stanley said during the podcast, it's as easy as falling off a log, right? Sleep has been made complex largely for commercial gain. Sleep doesn't need to be simplified. It needs to be not complexified. We are obsessed with sleep. So besides making this problem bigger than it is, we just think about it all the time. Our culture obsession feeds into this need for content and products. So here's how it goes. It keeps getting more and more complex. We get some data, right? We get some new information that says sleep is a real problem, right? And we connect it to our overall health and wellness. We talk about it more as people, and then the media creates more content to serve this demand, which then spirals into a cultural obsession around sleep. And this blanket obsession that covers all of us then leads to a personal obsession about sleep, right? So this is true. Anybody here has gone through this. You're smack dab in the middle of a bad night's sleep, and what happens, right? You wake up early, the math starts. If I sleep now, that means I only get a few extra hours. I'm gonna wake up tired. Oh no, I've only gotten 7 hours of sleep, but I want 15 hours. And then you start worrying, right? Oh, I'm awake now and I'm gonna be tired all day tomorrow, and I have something important to do. And over and over and over, and then the judgment comes. I never get a good night's sleep. There's something wrong with me. Around and around and around. You don't sleep because you're worried and judgmental about not sleeping, right? So this is the part that we obsess about. We get so worried because society has kind of painted it that if you have a problem sleeping, there's something wrong with you. And it's not true largely. So instead of letting go, we hold on to things. A simple event, early awakening, leads to some hours wasted time obsessing over the wasted time and the repercussions. I'm having bad sleep and this means I'll be tired, and this won't happen, and then that won't happen, and I'll be like all those people who suffer from poor sleep. And this is what goes around in our heads, whether it's a small amount or a large amount, and this is not productive. Then we have to worry about this new thing, this gaming of all of our body systems where everything has to be optimized, right? We have sleep tracking and scoring apps, right? So what the heck is this? You put a device on or use an app and we'll give you a score. So one night you're a 65 and 78 another, and then you're down to 43. What the hell does that mean, right? What is a 43 over 78? Like, are you not going to pass? Like, I don't understand what this means. This creates anxiety around sleeping optimally, and you need to get a higher score. So this isn't a way to deal with sleep problems. So I believe that our obsession with sleep is what causes a lot of our sleep problems. If we had a much more lackadaisical approach to this whole thing, we'd have a bad night's sleep because that happens. But instead, we're like hyper focused on sleep. And when we have poor sleep, we obsess on it, making the current problem worse. Because if we just said, oh, I woke up, let me just take a couple deep breaths and I'm just going to go back to sleep. Or if I can't go back to sleep, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do something and I'm going to be tired tomorrow and it's going to stink, right? That's what it should be. But what it is this bigger problem. And repeated poor sleep due to this obsession leads to more poor sleep, right? So my job here, because I just want to be different, is to make you aware. This is an obsession culturally and individually. The obsession is unjustified because sleep is simple. And we create a negative feedback loop due to this obsession and this worry. So I want to help you be more confident in the simplicity of sleep. I want to help give you less weight to a poor night's sleep. I want you to be able to walk away and say, all right, so sleep isn't this crazy problem that everybody makes it out to be. And if I have a bad night's sleep, that's okay. It will correct itself. We will move on. It happens literally all the time. And if it does happen, there are things we can do to fix it. And it doesn't have to be all complicated like everyone is promoting. I want to arm you with something here that you can trust in, a product or a method to help you sleep. And I just want to make sure that we're aware that our perception of the problem worsens our obsession, further worsening sleep. So if we can just understand a few things about sleep, it's just that and that alone. But most importantly, from my perspective, is that we have to change our expectations. Some nights sleep will be great, some will just be okay, some will be horrible. And your sleep is going to be different than your husband's sleep or your wife's sleep or your friend's sleep or that guy in the phone booth sleep. Your sleep will be different than your sleep on the night before. Your sleep is always going to be changing. So there's no such thing as a perfect night's sleep. It's highly individualized and scenario dependent, and the pursuit of perfection feeds the cycle of this complexity and obsession, further making sleep worse. So we got to let go. The only thing that matters with sleep is how you feel. If you don't sleep good, who cares? Only you if you feel bad. So I had a bad night's sleep and I performed pretty well today, I think. I mean, I'm doing all right. So that bad night's sleep isn't anything that I should be holding over my head or be worrying about. Bad sleep only matters if it affects you the next day. And real daytime consequences aren't, those aren't the end of the world. Bad sleep will happen, so don't worry about it or judge yourself. Take corrective action, and if it persists, then we need to seek medical attention to get to the real root cause, and we're going to kind of dig into that concept. So let's go here. So insomnia and the medical stuff, wake me up when this is over. All right, so let's talk about the medical nerdy stuff, the definitions, right? Insomnia is difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. That's it. That's the insomnia definition. There are two types: acute, which is what I had last night, which was a brief thing. And I don't even think it's right that we call that insomnia. I just would say that I had a bad night's sleep, right? Because then it gums it all together. So chronic sleep, though, this is the real problem. It's 3 nights a week, and it lasts 3 or more months where you have a problem sleeping. So that is the definition of chronic insomnia. Now, by the strict medical definition, about 5 to 10% of people will truly suffer from chronic insomnia, but it's overreported, just like food allergies, right? 30% or more of people will say that they have chronic insomnia when really it's closer to 5 or 10%. So we talk about what sleep is, and if you look up all the different articles on sleep, they give you all these different vocabulary and definitions and terms and everything like that. Again, we want to simplify it. So this is how you should look at sleep. Okay, and insomnia. There are 3 bins. You can't fall asleep, you can't stay asleep, or you wake up in the middle of the night, and you wake up earlier than you wanted. So that was me last night. I woke up at 4 a.m., 4:20 instead of 5 a.m. I always get up early on webinar days to finish the work that I didn't do. So sleep cycles are a part of insomnia, and I don't really feel like we need to talk about them, but we can, because they're not really important. They're only important to just to address the misconceptions around sleep. So that's why I'm going to bring them up. So just to kind of broadly talk about it, you have REM sleep and non-REM sleep. REM sleep is rapid eye movement. That's where most of your dreams are happening. And then non-REM sleep is that deep sleep. It's like 3 different phases. So there's like 4 total phases, I guess. Well, it doesn't matter because there's just more misconceptions around sleep cycles that we need to discuss. And this is the thing, is like people say that you can optimize their sleep cycles. You can't, and it won't matter because your sleep cycles are variable. They change because we have this misconception that sleep cycles are these clear-cut 90-minute intervals. Like you go from REM to then stage 1 non-REM and stage 2 non-REM, and then after 90 minutes, you cycle back through. And that's not how it is. It's a bloody mess, right? The average is actually 94 minutes, but the range of a sleep cycle is anywhere between 30 and 120 minutes. So you don't have this clean sleep cycle process. So managing it and trying to optimize it is silly. In fact, it's fragmented. So, and it's different each night. You have multiple sleep cycles in a single night. So, if they're about 90 minutes each, we can assume that we're going to have about 5 different sleep cycles. You can have one sleep cycle that's 30 minutes, one that's 120 minutes, one that's 70 minutes. So it's going to be fragmented and different every single time, again, even within a single night. And meds will not mess up your sleep cycle, because this is what I hear the most, and this is what I wanted to address with the sleep researcher, Dr. Stanley here. I said, do medications mess up your sleep cycles? Because that's what you hear. Oh, if I take Ambien, it's going to mess up my phase 2 restorative sleep. And he said the consensus in the data is that it can't affect that. It doesn't affect that. So it doesn't really have a significant lasting effect on the sleep cycles. So this is important stuff to know. So sleep cycles are important if you're a researcher, but for me, for you, it doesn't matter at all. So you'll go through multiple cycles in a night. Those cycles will not be the same each time. And in general, micromanaging the sleep cycle just feeds into our obsession. So relax. Don't worry about it. All right. Diana has a question. I once read in the mid 80s that even though I was laying awake, I was still getting 80% of rests I would have gotten if I was asleep. And that has been helpful. Well, so that's good. Yeah. So resting is resting no matter what. And really the problem with people with their eyes open is the worry, because that adds a huge psychological and emotional burden to them, and it is energy sapping. So if you're just laying there and being meditative and such, that's great. Do that all day long. All right, so let's talk about the 3 different types of sleep problems that we can have, starting with helping you fall asleep, just not at the wheel of the car, please and thank you. So what do you need to fall asleep? All right, this is the thing that like blew my mind. Boom, right? You only need 3 things to fall asleep. This is it. This is the rules. You need to be comfortable, you need a relaxed body, and you need a relaxed mind. That's it. If you have those 3 things, you will fall asleep. End of story. No gadgets, devices, no things special, and no nonsense. That's it. Those 3 things. Comfort, relaxed body, relaxed mind. Boom. And if you understand this, you'll see that all of those articles, all of those things out there are just a derivation of those 3 pieces of advice. That's it. It's those fundamental requirements. And that's what everybody's going crazy about. So let's kind of go through this. Oh, there we go. I didn't mean to do this. All right, so for comfort, right, they'll tell you have to use this pillow or this mattress or this sleep position or this temperature, or you need this sound machine or waterfalls or whatever. If you have a relaxed body, you got to do exercise before bed and do some stretching. And here, take some supplements, and here's some medicines, and drink your fluids. All of this stuff is feeding back into this concept of the 3 most important things for sleep: comfort, relaxed mind, and a relaxed body. So first, let's talk about a relaxing mind. How do we relax our mind? Well, I think that this is the major problem for us. We're all tweaked out in this country. We've got so much stuff going on. So this is why I feel like we feel our sleep problems are getting bigger. And I believe Dr. Stanley was talking about since 2003 and like 2017, the amount of people that are having poor sleep has increased over time. And most of it has been since like 2012. But he also thinks that it has to do with the fact that we're talking about it a lot more, right? But we do have this inability to unwind because the internet's really boomed since this period, 2000 and beyond. So the quiet for me is the worst, and this is what I try to explain to everybody. Why do we have an opioid epidemic? Why do we have like me a sugar addiction or gambling, all these other things? It's the quiet. It's you. As soon as you get some space, your mind starts moving, right? And when we're trying to sleep, it's 10 times worse. Your mind starts talking because it finally has the center stage. And so all of your worries, fears, problems, and things that you need to say or do all come to the surface. So some people will look to quiet that using substances and such. But at bedtime, it's certainly not helpful. So we have information overload, and we don't have the ability to process all the information and tasks for our modern busy lives. So one of the things I like to talk about when we talk about this idea of trying to fall asleep at night and having difficulty is the idea that our mind is not a good place to store to-do lists. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So we have storage parts of our brain, of course, but we also have a part of our brain that's for processing, right? And so I think of the brain as a whiteboard. Oh, we're going to work out this process, stage one, and then stage two, and then we're going to go all through these different steps, and we're going to, this is how we're going to solve the problem. And that's a real important use of the brain, especially the part of the brain that's kind of like talking. The problem is that we end up jamming up our whiteboard with stuff that doesn't belong there, like to-do lists, and I don't have enough time, and I got to get gas, and my credit card's due, and there's this thing that's really important, and so it jams up the whiteboard, and we don't have room to do all of this processing and such. So this jammed up whiteboard creates what I call unclosed loops. I learned that from David Allen, Getting Things Done. It's a productivity book that taps into like human psyche. I think everybody should definitely check that out. But basically, your brain will still try to process all the stuff that's on the whiteboard. It's all gummed up there, so it's still going to do it even though you're not intending to do it. So it's still being done subconsciously. And this leads to stress, which can lead to further problems. So my recommendation is to create a list just with a twist. Okay, so difficulty falling asleep because your brain's moving a mile a minute. Keep a pad and a pen near your bed and start to write out stuff as it comes to you while your mind is bopping around. And you might find that it may take 10 or so minutes of you just kind of writing out to-do lists and all the things that you need to say. And I got to say this to my mom because she was a jerk to me, and I gotta do this laundry, and I'm out of quarters, and I got to get quarters for my quarter collection. So as this stuff bubbles up, it may take you like 10 or 15 minutes to really like let it all decompress. But once that's kind of out there, then you'll successfully fall asleep and be able to relax. But writing it down is not good enough because your brain is smart. Your brain says, okay, well, I trust that it's going to be offloaded, so I don't have to keep it here and I don't have to process it because it's outside an exterior system. If you do not follow through with those things, then your brain will be less likely to trust that. And when you do that brain dump, it won't be for very long, and your brain will start to get stressed again, and you'll have difficulty sleeping. So when you're making your to-do list, be clear and specific. So don't say Time Warner Cable. Say, call Time Warner Cable and say, why did you guys go out of business? I should be using a Spectrum reference, and I need my cable changed. And dial this 800 number specifically, because if there's anything left to do in that brain, I have to think of what is the Time Warner Cable number, and I have to do all of this stuff. It's going to make it difficult for you to sleep. So when you're creating this list, this to-do list, make it as clear and as concise as possible, and let your brain trust in that system. So the next morning, do something with the list. Take the list and go get stuff done and check things off, and your body, your brain will thank you for it. As long as you're using these trusted systems to manage your life, it'll be much easier for your mind to relax when it has the opportunity. Even better, of course, mindfulness and meditation. Meditative practice is the answer because you're a human, so there's going to be a part of your brain that talks to you. I call it the crazy person in your head. And I had a nice little podcast episode, one of our first, with Dr. Lawrence Dresdale, my psychologist, and he and I talked about not being pushed around by your thoughts and the voice in your head. So we've got the podcast, but we also did a blog article on the subject, so check that out after. But really, for me, meditation is the answer if you have difficulty falling asleep because your mind is chattering to you too much. So how do you relax your mind? I mean, I don't know. Like, you tell me. Like, you figure you're the one that would know. My wife reads. I meditate. Sometimes pot brownies help. Like, whatever it takes. And that's an important point, is that you have to develop your own healthy methods for relaxing your mind. Whatever is going to work for you will relax. All that matters is that you understand to go to sleep, you need a relaxed mind, relaxed body, and you need to be comfortable. You can use drugs. I mentioned pot brownies. So drugs are good, right? Better living through chemistry. And that's what all of this stuff is. Supplements and medicines aren't changing your sleep cycle. All right. Big, big, big red lights here. Sleep and medicine, supplements and medicines aren't changing your sleep cycle. The only thing that they're doing is calming your mind and perhaps relaxing your body. So they're allowing you to fall asleep easier than if you didn't have them around. Okay. So they are not affecting your sleep. So they'll just improve your ability to fall asleep. And to some degree, they'll help you stay asleep. The stronger they are, the less likely you are to react to anything that would make you wake up. So sleep supplements and medications don't affect your sleep. They calm your mind or your body. So it's easier for you to fall asleep on your own. Is that enlightening to anybody? I hope it is. I hope you guys are like enthralled here, it seems. So the second thing you need is a relaxed body. This kind of looks creepy, actually. So the idea here is that we need to have our muscles relaxed. We need to have all of our yayas out, as one of our podcast guests had said, our yoga instructor. We need more physical activity. We're dogs. We don't run enough. We're kind of stuck indoors all day. A little stretching before bed never hurt anybody. I do the same routine that I did in high school with my physical education coach. If you have movement disorders or you have spasms due to like something like dehydration or electrolyte imbalances, addressing that will help your body relax so that way you can fall asleep easier. But your body might be crying out in hunger, and it's important that you address that. Some of the best advice I can give anybody that have a difficulty falling asleep or even sometimes staying asleep is to eat something. Have your snack before bed. Remember, from our nutritional webinar, it's breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, and snack. So you should be having a snack about an hour, hour and a half before bedtime. And all of our snacks and meals are mixes of proteins, fats, and complex carbohydrates. So nothing crazy, but like a scoop of peanut butter and like half of an apple is just enough to give you that that energy. Remember, we talk about surviving on the coals of our campfire overnight with proper nutrition. So having a little bit of food can help relax your body. And the third is comfort, of course. And this goes to all of that stuff about mattress quality, pillow quality, the room temperature, sound. I have to have the fan on, right? And my nephew needs like a noise machine. And I can make recommendations around this, but then I'm just like one of those blogs. So this is just super personal, right? The sleep number. I'm a 12, she's a 44. Hey, that's insulting. You're a 44, I'm a 12, whatever. So if you like squishy, you like a fan, you like the waterfall sounds, it's your world. Do what you got to do. I don't know what I was going to say with don't, but just know that also one of the things that goes along with comfort is the feeling of safety. And part of the reason that little baby goats, your newborns, cry all night is because they wake up and they don't feel safe. So helping the baby feel safe will help your baby feel sleepy and stay asleep. So just remember there's a role in that. So I want to go off on a little rant. We're going green here, people. So we've discussed our expectations around sleep and how they're wrong. And then we talked about how the perfect night's sleep doesn't exist, but we have expectations around what sleep should look like that needs a little hip check, and I want to kind of bring it to the forefront. So what we want to do when we go to sleep is we want to hit the pillow with all the stuff in our head and our tired bodies and instantly fall asleep, and we want to stay asleep, and we want to wake up feeling refreshed. In other words, we want it all without any of the work. Okay. And that's an important thing. It shouldn't be hard work, but sometimes it does take some work. So we have this desire for low effort from anything. We're going to run around like psychos all day. Our mind is going to be completely scattered. We're going to be eating unhealthy foods, and we want to hit the pillow and go right to bed with no messing around. No, you can't. If you're going to spin yourself up and keep yourself there, you have to do some work to unwind yourself. So part of our problem with sleep is that we take it for granted. And I'm going to throw in Dr. Stanley because he actually went on a little rant about this. So we're both ranty together. He feels that we don't value sleep. He feels like a lot of us don't think that sleep is important. And he says that he knows this because we'd rather watch Netflix. We make that conscious decision to say, yeah, I'm going to binge watch this till 11 o'clock in the morning or well, the next morning, right? 11 o'clock at night. We want to play on our phone. We lay in bed and we're scrolling, doing all that silly stuff. Or we want to work like psychos, right? All day long. We're far too busy to fall asleep. And if it were important, we'd make the effort to go to sleep when we're tired, which is something that a lot of people forget, that if you're tired, you should go to sleep. And we would make the effort to do the right things for sleep. So putting in place sleep hygiene or sleep habits. And we would spend the money, right? So some people will argue the best money you can spend is on your mattress and your pillow. Blackout blinds are great to keep the light out. Whatever it is that you need, make sleep important to you and it will pay dividends. So in Dr. Stanley's eyes, he feels that we don't think it's important and we're not setting appropriate boundaries for ourselves. And I feel like we have to do the good work and reset our expectations. I mean, how many people take time to come to a webinar on sleep? Right? I've got 23 people in the room, 140 people signed up for it. I'm sure about 80 more people will watch it between tonight and tomorrow because who the heck has free time at 6 o'clock? But there's a lot of people that would benefit from learning this information, but then won't take the time to learn it. So I'm guilty too. So the idea that I work like a crazy person. In fact, like I worked myself up into like exhaustion last week, where I thought like something was wrong medically. I have very little time in the day for my family, and even less time for myself personally. So I want more time for me. So I'll push through my tiredness at the end of the day. Just try to get more awake hours, some time for me. And it's less about my sleep and more about my tiredness, how I feel during the day, right? So it's a conscious choice to disrupt my sleep cycle, which leads to more frequent acute insomnia. So, and the blame falls exclusively on me. But I'm not bad only. I do some things right. Okay, so stop making fun of me over there. I have $100 pillow, and I know that's fancy. And you don't have to cancel your supplement subscriptions, thinking that I'm some sort of baller. I bought that pillow 10 years ago. And while that may sound gross in and of itself that I'm using the same pillow for 10 years, I do put a mattress and pillow cover on my bed. And I think that's very important for all of you to do. But I identified that my pillows were a problem. I was like chewing them up. I would buy just these cheapos, and I realized I couldn't sleep. It was making my arm numb, and it was waking me up in the middle of the night, and I wasn't sleeping well. So I splurged, and it completely changed the quality of my sleep. And I'll go as far as to say that my mattress and pillow at home is far more comfy than any plush hotel that I've ever stayed at. And that makes vacation sleeping very difficult. And I'll be going away in the next couple of days, so I'll probably come back and need to sleep. In fact, we look forward to getting home to our own bed most of the time. So all of these decisions and all of these things that we're talking about are also known as sleep hygiene. And these are just a list of suggestions to help you fall asleep easier. They're habits to implement, and they're crucial as we age, especially in those with the onset of dementia, because sundown syndrome is a real thing. And if you have relatives that are getting early onset dementia, they need to have good sleep habits. So I listed all of the different hygiene things, but essentially it's, don't sleep all day, don't nap too frequently, don't drink caffeine or alcohol or drugs before bed, take it easy on the food, but eat something, exercise for 10 minutes a day, all the same stuff that we talked about. And, sleep hygiene is just basically saying get comfortable, relax your body, and relax your mind. But the thing about sleep hygiene here that we have to remember is that these are just suggestions. They're habits, and they're important, and they're almost crucial to all of us. But there's really no scientific validity in a sleep hygiene thing, right? So Dr. Stanley says, he's like, well, what do you do? Do you do one of them? Do you do 7 of them? And are they guaranteed to work? And what if a little bit of alcohol causes a little bit of sedation in you, right? So it's not that it has to be completely avoided. It's just these are the suggestions that people should use. So sleep hygiene are these suggestions, a variation of our 3 rules that matter most. So let's help people stay asleep, because it looks like we got to burn through this material here. So don't wake me up before you go. So what wakes you up? So typically we have insomnia because we wake up in the middle of the night. And that's normally a medical problem. I think that's the second most important thing to understand, is that if you're waking up in the middle of the night, there's normally something going on there. So sleep apnea, hot flashes or hormonal changes, bladder or incontinence, movement disorder, so from simple stuff like cramping or twitching all the way up to restless leg syndrome. So you have to treat the medical problem to solve your sleep problem. It may be wise if you are waking up and using your normal suggestions that you learned here, you're not sleeping. It might be good to get a consultation and do an analysis with an expert. So you may need to speak to an expert if you regularly wake up at night. So address medical problems with medical solutions. This is a little pearl from Dr. Stanley. So this seems very basic and silly that I'm explaining this, but the thing that wakes you up isn't the thing that keeps you awake. So there might be something that happens, like a noise, right? And you stir a little bit, but then your mind starts racing, and that's what's keeping you awake. So a lot of the times when people are having problems where they're waking up in the middle of the night, there's actually a causative thing and the thing that keeps you awake. So he was saying, like in men, you would think that it's a bladder thing, especially as we age. And what they found is that there's about a 30-minute gap between when somebody wakes up and when they finally get up to go to the bathroom. Now, I don't know if that's because they're like, I don't want to get out of bed, it's super comfy, or whatever, but there seems to be some sort of delay. So there's the thing that wakes you up, and then there's the thing that keeps you awake. So it's important to understand that those are two different things. There are non-medical things that do wake you up. So your partner's inability to sleep might justify the leave it to beaver type situation where you have your own beds or even your own bedrooms. So that way you get a sound night's sleep. I think that's a little weird, but some people, whatever, like I said, it's your world, whatever. The temperature or the comfort changes. So all of a sudden it gets really hot. I think like our power went out, so our fan stopped last night, so I got a little hot. Noise, thunder and lightning, that kind of stuff. Active dreams or having anxiety. All of this stuff can wake you up. And again, hunger. So if you don't eat that snack before bed, that might be what wakes you up. So supplements and medicines for waking up frequently through the night, is this something that you would want to advise? So there's something that's waking you up, and it's typically medically related, and we want to give you a medication that makes you sleep so deeply you ignore that. I don't know if that's really the best thing to do. So again, part of the thing when people come in and say that they have this difficulty staying asleep, I'll say, let's address the issues first. Don't take such a strong supplement or sedative or medication or whatever that you get zonked out for millions of hours and you're not going to respond to stimuli. The mechanism here is to calm your mind more intensely, and so you're bothered less by the things that are bothering you. And I don't know if that's a good thing. So if you wake up at night, one tip for you is that it might be smart to just get up. Like get up out of bed and do something versus laying there and like ruminating. So don't do the math, don't obsess, don't overthink. You're losing the time, right? So you're not going to be sleeping. So get up. Okay, get up and do something, or do your sleep hygiene routine. So my wife likes to read, so she wakes up in the middle of the night, she turns on her lamp, starts to read her book. I'll start meditating, do those kinds of things to help you fall back asleep. And if that's not doing it, just get up. That's probably the best way to roll. All right, so the last bin that we can put people into are the people that wake up a little bit earlier than they want to. So what the heck does that even mean, right? So literally, this is what it means for me. So again, webinar days, I wake up at 5 because I procrastinate and I never get the thing done like I want to. And I woke up at 4:25 today. And so my body was ready. I was like, okay, I'm awake, really awake, ready to go. And I was like, I don't want to. I want to stay in bed. I was comfy. I just wanted to go back to sleep until 5, and I wasted time. And I finally fell back to sleep. And it was like 10 minutes later. Now I started a sleep cycle, and I don't feel rested anymore. Right? I wanted more sleep. So I saw the hypocrisy in all of this, and I just kind of like launched myself out of bed. Right? So the idea that you have early rising, is there a medical cause or reason for this? And yes, there is a link to depression in people that frequently awake earlier than they want to. So make sure that you're sensitive to this and you seek assistance around it. If you're chronically waking up early, it could be a mood-related disorder like depression. But in general, if you're waking up earlier than you want, just mark it as an L, man. Just take the loss. You win some, you lose some. Sometimes you're going to get up earlier than want. Just get up and get your day going. And hopefully you'll be more tired that night and you'll get a little better night sleep. So let's keep going. So let's talk about natural and traditional sleep treatments. From calm to coma is what I normally claim to be able to give people, because that's really what we can offer in a pharmacy. A little bit of calm and we can zonk you right out. So I'm just going to do a quick rundown because this is not the no-nonsense guide to sleep supplements and medications. I'm just going to talk briefly about these things. Remember, all these things they're going to do is zonk you out and ignore things that you would normally wake you in the middle of the night. So again, the general mechanisms of action here, what are these things doing? They're calming your mind and relaxing muscles and calming your body. That's it. Boop, boop, boop. Hey, George, welcome. The second sleep is my experience. Going to sleep to wake in the night can be the deepest more. So Tori had a question about the idea that going back to sleep after waking up in the night can be the deepest or most relaxed sleep. So my thoughts on that is that, yeah, I mean, it feels really good. A weird story. My sister-in-law's, one of my sister-in-law's like boyfriends way back when I was first engaged to my wife, this dude would wake up early, go get a shower, and then go back to sleep. And because of that experience, because of how good it feels to wake up and then get to go back to sleep and wake up rested. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing for sure. I don't know if it's something that I would trust myself to be able to do repeatedly, you know? So when we talk about sleep medications and sleep therapies, we really want the perfect sleep therapy, which works instantly. You put it on your tongue, boom, you're out. It lasts as long as you need, keeping you asleep all night, and it doesn't have any negative side effects or physical dependency or any problems, no hangover effect the next day. That's the perfect sleep therapy. But what we have is far and really far from perfect. Those are the two options that you have. OTC and RX options are all pretty much working on the same systems in the body. There's nothing new or fancy. So the over-the-counter stuff is doing a weak version of the prescription stuff. There's varying potencies, like it could be a little tap or a sledgehammer hit. The onset, how quick it will work. So we have stuff that'll start to work within 15 minutes. Some stuff may take 3 hours before it really kicks in. And the durations, how long the supplement or the medication will last varies pretty widely too. You can have something that lasts as long as 72 hours. Some meds will last far into the next morning and make you feel really groggy the next day. Traditional over-the-counter products, as George is saying, Benadryl, diphenhydramine, even the sleep-marketed over-the-counter products are just strong antihistamines, and as a side effect, they induce drowsiness. So if it's a side effect, but we want it to happen, it's technically a good effect, right? Are you confused? Yeah, I don't know, whatever. But the real side effects of these products are that they can dry you up. So what does this mean? Well, in men, it'll start to affect your prostate, and it can make that whole thing not play well with you. And in everyone else, it can lead to urinary incontinence. The big thing that I caution people about with antihistamines is that it can lead to confusion because of where it works in the brain. Basically, it can cause confusion and even worsen dementia symptoms in some people. So using antihistamines is something that could be just occasionally. You got to take a plane flight, something like that. It's okay. If you're a younger 80-year-old person, then a Benadryl dose would be fine, as long as you're aware of all of these different things that are going on here. From a supplement standpoint, we have like the herbal versus the non-herbal. And again, all the herbal things are doing is just calming your mind and giving you maybe a slight muscle relaxation. So passion flower, valerian, hops, magnolia, CBD, holy basil, ashwagandha, like the whole list, right? All of these things are doing is calming your mind. Okay, because that's all we're doing when we're trying to go to sleep. The non-herbal options like 5-HTP. 5-HTP is a precursor to serotonin, so it'll help out with anxiety symptoms and again, relaxing your mind. Magnesium has a muscle relaxation effect, which can help relax your body. I just did a rant on magnesium. If you didn't read it, definitely read it. It's worth the 10 minutes. It's pretty eye-opening for a lot of people. And melatonin. I have a newfound respect for melatonin after my podcast interview. Melatonin is an animal all to its own. It is different from all other supplements out there. So after my conversation, I give melatonin way more pause and respect than I ever did. In the UK, since Dr. Stanley's from across the pond, it's RX only. The doses range widely from 0.3 milligrams all the way up to 10 milligram products. I've even seen 20 milligram melatonin products, and the recommendations are all over the place. If you ask somebody how much melatonin they should use, it's bonkers what you'll hear. This product isn't a sedative. It's called a chronobiotic. It affects all clocks in the system. So in children, it can affect development. In women, it can affect menstrual cycles. So it has a very, very wide reach, and it's really just best based on like who Dr. Stanley hooked me up with, who's a melatonin researcher for her whole life. Basically, it's really best for those with abnormal timing of their circadian cycle. So people that do shift work, jet lag, sometimes the elderly, the sundowners, or those with like what's diagnosed as delayed sleep phase syndrome. So melatonin, because it changes your clocks, really shouldn't be messed with by most of us. High doses can have a sedative effect, but the best use is when the sun sets, and then go to sleep when it's drowsy. How many people are going to do that? If the sun sets at 8 and that means you're going to be drowsy by 9, a lot of people would want to like wait till 10 or 11, take the melatonin dose, zonk out, and go to sleep. And that's not how it does. Using melatonin at the wrong time can shift your cycle out too far because it's changing your internal clock. So we use melatonin to normalize the clock, not shift it backwards. My sleep blog article that I wrote a few months back talks about this, and it talks about how our sleep cycles are condensed because of melatonin. Basically, our melatonin release cycles are condensed, not our sleep cycles, because of our exposure to artificial light and all the devices in our life cycles. So we have to understand that melatonin can be used to help stretch that process out, but it's really not a good idea to use it, I believe, without further guidance. So I'm going to be talking to her soon. So once I get her on the horn and we have a nice discussion, I'll even be better prepared to talk about melatonin. But my thought is there are better things to use for sleep than melatonin. If you use a dose that's high enough to zonk you out at like 11 o'clock at night when your melatonin levels are low, that's too much melatonin and it could be bad for you over the long period of time. Camping, how natural do you want to get? Because we can get your melatonin cycles back in order. Remember, I love these two pieces of data, 2013, 2017. They showed that if you use no electricity or electronics via camping or even doing it at your house, your sleep cycle will go back to normal. And it's as soon as 3 days. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you could do this where after dark, you're not using any artificial light, and you shouldn't be using artificial light the entire time, just natural light. And even keep the blinds open, and this will restore your sleep cycle. So this is a good natural way, the most natural way, I would say, to restore a messed up sleep cycle. Prescription sleep options, we have benzodiazepines and sedating psychotropics like Ambien and all these. These are problemsome because you can cause physical dependence, and then they can cause withdrawal. And more importantly to understand, and this is one of my favorite pharmacy nerd things to show you on this next slide, is the concept of active metabolites. This is a chart that shows how benzodiazepines, so drugs like Valium, are metabolized in the body. Now, Valium, if you can see, yes, you can see my cursor. So diazepam is over here. So if you take a dose of diazepam, your body is going to break it down, and it gets broken down into things that are other active things. So temazepam is a medication that you can buy and take. So when you take a dose of diazepam, you're also technically getting a dose of temazepam and oxazepam, right? So, and then this other metabolite that's active. So you're not getting one thing, you're getting 4 things. So choosing which benzodiazepine to use is based on like how many active metabolites you have. So just taking a dose of Valium, while that's going to zonk you out and stuff, it's going to last far too long, and it's going to be hanging around your body way too long. So it's dirtier than what you would want for sleep. Something like lorazepam, though, as you can see over here, has no active metabolites, and that's why when you talk about what's a good use of a benzodiazepine, or which benzodiazepine is best for people over 65 that could be more subject to these effects of these active metabolites, you would pick lorazepam or even clonazepam, because these are better options. So again, I'm adding pharmacy nerd stuff, but if you're interested, I would definitely recommend you check this out. The Beers criteria for potentially inappropriate medication use in older adults. This is something that I'll gladly share, but this is a list of all the drug classes, and it says, hey man, for sleeping, there are better options than we used to have, so let's use those. So trazodone ends up being the one that's picked over Ambien and Valium and all these other things, and there's the justification why. And it goes through other things like NSAIDs and pain relievers and all this kind of stuff, even psychotropic drugs. So that's just the pharmacy nerd in me. So which one do you use for sleep? I don't really care. As long as you calm your mind, whichever is best for you, but try for whatever thing you want that has less liabilities. You may need to try a few different things, and it's best to really address the reasons why you're having difficulty sleeping, because you can become reliant on using these things. So only use meds or supplements to give you some temporary relief while you fix what's wrong. But my personal number one recommendation isn't just because I'm really into weed, it's because it is awesome. So CBD is my number one over-the-counter sleep recommendation. And here's why: because it's calming your mind, right? That's what we know it'll do. It also will relax your muscles a little bit. We know it has that effect. The other stuff varies in onset and duration of action. With any of the other herbal remedies, we have to worry about all their quality related issues. Do they have contaminants? Do they have adulterants? Are they dosed correctly? Are they standardized? Are there drug interactions? With CBD, it's calming and it's just a better herbal option. You can titrate the dose very easily with our little calibrated droppers and like the really good concentrations. It has a quick onset of action and a short duration of use. You can literally wake up in the middle of the night, take a dose of CBD, calm your mind down, and go back to sleep. It's great for that, and without having the hangover the next day. So in my opinion, I would go for CBD. Some people it doesn't work though, but it's at least something that we can try. So just to review, sleep and sleep problems are a cultural obsession that has created a perception of complexity in our minds. We're told there's a single problem or a single solution, and we're told that those of us with sleeping difficulties have yet to find the magic bullet. In reality, sleep is simple. Sleep problems are caused by a multitude of things, and there are three bins for sleeping difficulties: falling asleep, staying asleep, and waking up earlier than you like. To sleep, you need comfort, a relaxed mind, and a relaxed body. If you waken in the middle of the night, it may be medically related, so speak with a true professional. And sometimes it's best to just get up instead of ruminating. Don't judge yourself, though. Obsessing over a poor night's sleep is not productive, even if you truly have chronic insomnia. So drop the judgment. Sleep medicines and sleep supplements will do nothing more than help you relax your mind or body so it's easier for you to fall asleep. And if you do need something for sleep, consider a properly made CBD product only after implementing good sleepy time habits. So I'm here. If you have questions and you want to know how to solve your sleep related issues, you can reach out to me. I'm at woodstockvitamins.com. We have a chat box in the bottom corner. Our phone number is on the screen and my email is there. I answer my emails regularly. Even on vacation, I'll even wake up in the morning, roll over in the middle of the night, and I'll start typing during my insomnia spells. So I hope that you do join us again, and I'm going to go to the polls and I'm going to see what everybody voted for the images here, and then we're going to go back and we're going to take a look at it. Has everybody placed their votes? Place your bets, place your bets. So it looks like we only have like 5 people actually participating with us tonight here, and we have all votes on, I think, Ninja Baby. So let's go back and let's see Ninja Baby. All right, so it is question and answer time. I'm going to switch back so you can see my fat face. So Ginny Casey asks, let's answer D. Johnson is going to talk about CBD. So what CBD dose works? So here's how CBD works. And this is why I believe so many people fail with CBD. So 1, they're getting ripped off. 2, they're not getting a quality full spectrum product. Those are the basic things with CBD. But what you have to understand about CBD is that the dosing range is super wide. It's between 1 milligram and 3,000 milligrams a day. And that's not an exaggeration. Those are the ranges of doses that people can use for CBD. So we have to determine what dose works best for us. So whenever you take CBD, the hardest dose is that first dose. So you take your first dose and you see what happens. Did that work? Did it not work? And if it didn't work, that doesn't mean CBD is a failure for you. And it certainly doesn't mean that you should repeat that same amount because it wasn't enough to do anything. So the next time you use CBD, you should increase it. So what CBD dose should you use? I don't really know because it's going to be individual to you. In general, for sleep, I will start people at higher doses, 10 to 15 milligrams, or even 10 to 20 milligrams, about 15 minutes before bedtime. I'll tell you to take the dose, hold it on your tongue for 2 minutes, and then hit the sheets, right? And just wait. And, do your meditation, do your breathing, and hopefully that'll zonk you out. But if that doesn't do it, then the next day, at bedtime, try more, double it. So if you try 10, try 20. If you try 20, try 30, whatever. Do something to increase the dose to get yourself a little bit more CBD to see if that is what will do it for you. Now, there's people in the audience that I know that CBD doesn't work. Some people have tried, like Diana, she's saying 50 milliliters. If she took 50 milliliters, one, I'd be rich. Two, she'd be out for a month. So she probably means 0.5 milliliters of our 25 milligram per ml solution, which means 12, 13 milligrams is what Diana had that work. So again, that's what I think most people would benefit from for sleep. So Ginny is asking, I hope that answers your CBD question. We'll talk more about that if you want to. Ginny's asking about she feels groggy during the day and she uses our sleep supplement. I'm assuming, Ginny, that you're talking about Sleepy's CR, which is a controlled release melatonin. And yes, if you have a hangover effect, you're feeling sleepy, you can go to sleep and everything's good, but you don't feel like yourself the next day, you know, that's a problem. We don't want that to happen. Again, the perfect sleep agent would be out of your system and allow you to perform well the next day. So I would say that it is almost definitely the melatonin, and you may need a lower dose. So that's probably what we would need. So boop boop boop. What about chronic upper respiratory and cough? Congestion seems to happen every night when I'm ready to sleep. Rose, that's a great point. That sometimes the environment that we're in will trigger stuff that'll keep us awake. So one of the biggest things is allergies or cough. So it's very important to clean underneath your bed using an hypoallergenic mattress cover. One of the grossest things I didn't include in the slide deck was that, like, I don't know, I think it's like after 10 years, half your mattress's weight is like dead skin cells and buggies and stuff like that. So, and that's probably real, it's probably not real, I don't know. But you should be using a hypoallergenic mattress cover that you change every year to prevent all that stuff from happening, because those things can irritate you and make you have an immune reaction. Again, when we talk about allergies, when we talk about our response to them, we can't be surprised. If you look at a car right now that's just been sitting for a moment or two, especially here in the Hudson Valley outside in Woodstock, they'll have a yellow or greenish film over top of it. Now that's a car that's only been sitting there for a couple minutes, and it's just like, it's metal. We're a windbag filled with mucus. We're sucking things in out of the air, and it's attacking the lining of our lungs, and that's contributing to these symptoms that we're having, where we're getting these coughing fits and the inflammation that's causing our congestion. So it may be wise for you to put in some like allergy level protection. So clean your fan, clean underneath your bed, put the mattress cover on, get a vaporizer running. Sometimes just the dry air in your bedroom can be an issue. And even consider using antihistamines, especially around bedtime. One, to help you sleep, but you can use the non-drowsy ones like Claritin or Zyrtec. But use those antihistamines to help combat the allergy symptoms that you're getting that are worse at bedtime. So I hope that helps, Rose. Diana, no worries. We're not going to hold you to any dosing. Lorraine wants to know if you can ever take too high a dose of CBD. No, I mean, like, can you smoke too much pot is the question. And yes, you can smoke so much pot that you go straight. You're not stoned anymore. But if you do higher doses, the more likely it will be to stick around in your body. Well, it'll sedate you way stronger, potentially cause more confusion. And then the last part is like last into the next day. So those are just things to consider when you are using a CBD product. Should I worry about continued use of diphenhydramine? George, I believe that you're over 65, correct? So using diphenhydramine on a regular basis is probably not the best idea. There's probably safer options. And in fact, I would want to address with you, why is it that you still need something to help you fall asleep first and foremost, and then we can talk about other healthier, safer options than diphenhydramine. If you looked at that Beers criteria, which is the list of medications that are appropriate to use in the elderly, which is something that I lived by before I opened up a store. I used to be a consultant pharmacist where we would work in nursing homes protecting elderly patients from being chemically sedated with medications and having their medications being used inappropriately on them. So that book would tell you not to use diphenhydramine in somebody over 65. So we would probably tell you the same. Oh, and Ginny, so she's using the one with valerian and melatonin. So it could be the melatonin that's doing that. It could also just be the combination of things. So that is valerian, melatonin. I think there's like two more botanicals. So you may want to just try, skipping that and potentially trying just a valerian or just a melatonin product, preferably not a melatonin product, just a valerian, or even something like passion flower, a little bit more gentle botanical. That may be something that will stop that um, hangover the next day. These are great questions, everybody. I do carry a good CBD oil. So part of the deal here, and since most of you guys have stuck around, if you guys call, and I've got a list of who participated today, if you call tomorrow and you want a CBD oil, whether it's brand new or you're reordering, I'll give you guys 15% off the CBD oil. Tonight, you're going to get an offer for 15% off any of our sleep products. If you want, you'll get that in your email. But this will be good all day tomorrow. So I hope that if you want to try CBD, we got a great one. I'm trying to do our own CBD, but I'm kind of thinking that I like the brand that we're with right now. So you can take CBD forever. Yeah, you absolutely. So what we know about CBD is that the liabilities with CBD normally comes with higher doses. And I mean, when I say higher doses, it's like 4 bottles a day. It's the stuff that they're using for epilepsy and stuff. So right now, the safety data that we have says that the doses that people are using for anxiety and sleep are way too low to like really register any negative effects. So right now, we're on board with saying it's good. We need more data, though. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, the freaking prohibition of marijuana and hemp-related products has really set us back about 70 years in science and understanding these things. Because remember, CBD isn't just a single thing. It's about 20 different active ingredients. There's CBD and all the CBD analogs. There's THC and all those analogs, and then there's the essential oils. So all of these things have different effects, and the different ratios and percentages will have different effects in different people. So there's so much to know and to understand, and then you have the idea of products versus ingredients, and this is something that I've been kind of like saying loudly in all of our content and in store, is that we know that CBD is great and it helps out with sleep and all this other stuff, but the products you buy may say CBD, but you're either getting bootleg CBD or not the right ratios or some Frankenstein combination of all the active ingredients that's not naturally occurring, that kind of doesn't line up with the data that we do have. So, understanding that it's a much more complex picture than just buying something that says CBD on the label. I was actually reminded, I was going through my Twitter feed trying to get some followers on the Big Mouth Pharmacist Twitter feed, and I found an old article from last year where 52 people were injured from like a bootleg CBD. So you have to be very, very careful. George, thank you. Take it easy. Well, Ginny, I appreciate that. I wish that there was a way for us to help people use other supplements that are out there, but what I found is that when you try to sell other brand stuff, they have to be transparent. There's no system for transparency, and the system for quality is really poor. So I feel like what we're doing here, where we're taking the idea of legal compliance and therapeutic quality, and then all of the nuance to making these things and putting them all together, really gives you that kind of assuredness that we all should be guaranteed when we buy a supplement, but unfortunately, because of the industry, we don't have that. So I definitely appreciate your support there. And I'm glad, Diana and Lorraine, you had a good time. Thank you very much. Hi, Ann. I'm glad to hear that this was helpful. I enjoy doing it, and I think it's cool. It's giving me some practice. You think I could be a TED Talker someday? Because you guys are my first audience, so I'm hoping that I could be. I try to design these webinars in a way that are a little bit more advanced than the typical stuff that's out there, so that way I can potentially one day do a nice little TED Talk on supplements and supplement quality. Ginny, thank you. Yeah, I need to rest. Look how busted I look. I look like a mess. I can't wait to get some rest. We're gonna go to Wildwood, New Jersey, though, so there won't be any resting. The kids are gonna be all hyped up at the water parks and stuff with my dad bod representing. Okay, gang. Thank you so much. I appreciate the support as always, and talk to you all soon. Take it easy.